Sepupz, do you like walawoons? What's that? You do? They're your absolute favorite people on the surface of the planet? How wonderful! Well, since you love walawoons so much, I'm honored to share with you the rise of the DAP Walauns. Sepupz, I know we call past members walawoons a lot on this channel, but really, anybody can be a walawoon. You can be a walawoon, you can be a walawoon, and you can be a walawoon. See, the word walawoon just comes from Arabic, where wala basically means loyalty, allegiance, fidelity, which are things that our beloved Queen Sepupz enjoys in great supply, despite the teh tarik, water, sumbang mahram, and drug addiction on our East Coast. Which is why it was very interesting to see the rise of the DAP Walauns. When you found out about the Nga Kor Ming drama, this is what you said. As someone who's been reading Utusan, that's the level of journalism they have. All hot air and nothingness. Kinda like the nothingness you gave me when I asked you for evidence. Offended by everything and ashamed of nothing. Sai, YBNKN, stand your ground against these jago kampungs. Do we get to stand our ground against the fact that you have no evidence? For me, he has a right to say that. As you know, our reporters have no clue what to ask except always attack non-Malay. Wow. By asking that stupid question, other journalists couldn't ask more important questions. Now, I don't know if that's true, given that the question itself was just 5 seconds long.
Ada lagi soalan? Look at the way that this is visit Malaysia here, tahun 20.
And barely audible. But thank you all for your wonderful display of defending things that you cannot actually defend. And before you call me a walawoon yourself, now don't get me wrong, I 100% support having the program in English, 100% support not having the program politicized, and 150% agree that Malaysia should swim in that tourism plata. I also don't hate DAP. As the Sepupz of the PAP, it's one of my favorite political parties in Malaysia at the moment. They have some very high quality people, but rest assured, blind loyalist walawoons are not those people. You know, I find it fascinating how you think that DAP MPs have been victimized and you defend them time and time again, but then suddenly when somebody asks a question that could be racist, could not be racist, the moment it triggers you, you are totally okay with getting people to insult them one after another. It's funny how so many of you out there like to scream about Sepupz, Sepupz, Sepupz because there's no actual evidence for it, and yet you're doing the exact same thing except in slightly different dress. Talking about how people are full of hot air, but when people ask you to give evidence, you're unable to do so. Now, why is that happening? I think the answer is kind of obvious. You are walawoons. That's right, you are no better than all of the past Sepupz out there trying to get everyone to buy into their tortured agama dan bangsa narrative. But you tell yourself that you are better because you advocate for a socialist democratic state. The cause is greater, and not a single person that advocates it could ever do any wrong in the world. Whitewashing mistake after mistake. How many are you going to whitewash before you realize that you are facilitating people in behaving badly while saying they are fighting for your rights? Now, let me emphasize that I empathize to a degree though. I don't think anybody is gonna dispute that YB Nga is a good minister. He gets awards, he gets the job done. Sure, people hate him for the UNESCO thing, and Pemuda PAS wants to protest the URA thing, but that is part of their game, and in my mind, in 99% of situations, he is amazing, and the fact that he apologized makes him a 99.5 in my book. But see, for me, that 0.5 is not something that you can just ignore. Y'all are out there acting like he is an angel from heaven, come to save Malaysia, bring us out of the dark ages, second takeoff, on the side of justice. But Sepupz, mistakes are mistakes. I know some of y'all out there want to whitewash Nga, say that semuanya baik, we voted him in, Nga for president. But bros, wake up. Buat salah tu maksudnya buat salah. A mistake is a mistake, whether you call it by any other name. And if you're going down the justifying mistakes path just because the people making the mistakes are the people that you voted for, you are going down a slippery slope. And if we don't call that shit out, today it's threatening a journalist and you're all like, alright, he did the right thing. And the next thing you know, you're going to be asking a question at another event. Another YB is going to say, you're racist. And before you know it, people are going to have Jeroboams of champagne on your taxpayer dollar, start screaming that you're racist because you don't allow it. And before you know it, it, you have replaced the past feudalism with DAP feudalism. Because let me ask you, right? Like, if you're going out there defending people whenever they do the wrong thing, then in what way are you better than all of those religious jokers out there? Try to be semoga mendapat hidayah, tell you every religion bans alcohol, and glaze their Velfire riding but otherwise completely useless YB just because they support the holiest party on earth. Well, you are not. Same problem, different exam, same poop, different toilet. All you're doing is just facilitating bad behavior, allowing low standards, screaming out at the top of your voice, saying semua okay janji DAP. Well, newsflash, in case you haven't realized it just yet, it's not just about DAP versus PAS, UMNO versus Perkasa, PKR versus Gerakan. I think Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong said this best during a campaign for their general election a couple months ago, but he said the real contest is not the PAP versus the opposition, it is Singapore versus the world. End of the day, given the resources of the country, the talent available, the people who are still here and haven't joined the thousands of people migrating off to Singapore, we're looking for the best team to run Malaysia. Now, our leaders are not going to hold a candle to Singapore, but the logic is the same. Doesn't matter what party they're from, that is, always has been, and always will be the real goal at the end of the day: Malaysia versus the world. Deal with it. And if you're in your poverty mindset deciding that DAP must surely win at the end of the day, regardless of how its ministers behave, and whether or not they actually match the ideology of the parties that they're from, or for that matter, standards of basic good conduct, then I think we have a bit of a problem here. If you're telling me that threatening people just because they went and asked a question, accusing them of being racist even though you have no proof to affirm that
is magically acceptable just because it's DAP,
you're not proving to me that you're the most multiracial, progressive, non-communal, anti-racist, #true Malaysian. You are showing me that you are a walawoon. Now, I think most of you are still brighter than a lot of people that we see out there in the past hardcore Sepupz walawoon group. But if you're making assumptions and using shit logic, you are really not much better. 0 times 1000% better is still 0. It is like one ant trying to fight with another ant, trying to see who is the strongest ant of all. But well, hell will freeze over before I vote for PAS in any election with any other political party in this country available. And I would sooner migrate rather than live under the government of an administration of walawoons. But if you DAP supporting lot are going to turn out to be walawoons as well, then you know what? This country really is doomed. The best time to have stopped all this shit was donkey years ago when the party was formed, and the second best time is now, because Sepupz, feudalism cuts the same way. Whether you're a walawoon, a walanon, you support PAS, DAP, or the flying spaghetti monster. So stop facilitating bad behavior from our young bohomats, especially if they're not behaving like they deserve to be
dihormati,
just because they're part of DAP. You, me, and all of Malaysia deserve better than that. Alright, that's all to say about that, and bye.